You see this symbol every day. It's a silent promise of connection, a tiny beacon that links your headphones, your car, your speakers, your entire digital life. It's a symbol of seamless unity in a complex world. But what if I told you it has nothing to do with modern engineering, nothing to do with a literal blue-colored tooth, and everything to do with a legendary Viking king who died over 1,000 years ago? What if I told you that every time you pair a device, you're invoking the name of a fierce Scandinavian ruler? A man whose life was defined by conquest, conversion, and one of the most ambitious unification projects of his era. This is the completely insane, and entirely true, story of how King Harald Bluetooth united the warring tribes of ancient Denmark, and then, a millennium later, his name was chosen to unite every single gadget in your pocket. This is the story of how a Viking king became the unlikely ghost in our machines. Forget what you think you know about the name on your phone screen. We're about to rewind the clock. Not 10 years, not 100, but over 1,000. We're going back to a time of longships and runestones, of pagan gods and rising empires. To understand the king, we have to understand his world. And to understand his world, we have to understand the chaos he was born into. This isn't just a fun fact, it's a lesson in how the most powerful ideas of unity, can echo through centuries in the most unexpected ways. The world of warring tribes, the Denmark of Harald Bluetooth, picture Scandinavia in the early 10th century. It's not the collection of peaceful, organized countries we know today. It's a fractured, violent landscape. A patchwork of petty kingdoms ruled by chieftains, or jarls, all fighting for land and power. The people we call Vikings weren't a single group, they were Danes, Swedes, and Norwegians, often at war with one another. They were farmers at home and raiders at sea, terrorizing the coasts of Europe. This was a world defined by division. Into this world, around 911 AD, Harald was born, the son of Gorm the Old, the first historically recognized king of Denmark. Harald inherited a kingdom, but it was in pieces. Jutland, Zealand, and the surrounding islands were distinct regions with their own leaders. To the south, a formidable power was growing, the Holy Roman Empire, a Christian behemoth that looked upon the pagan Norsemen with suspicion. Harald's challenge was monumental: forge a single nation from these warring tribes and defend it from powerful outside threats. And he did it. Harald Bluetooth Gormson, as he would be known, was a master of both war and diplomacy. His reign, which saw him unite Denmark and Norway around 958 AD, was marked by ambitious projects designed to do one thing: unite. First, he built. Across his kingdom, Harald constructed massive, perfectly circular fortresses known as Trelleborgs. These weren't just forts, they were profound statements of centralized power. Built with stunning geometric precision, they were garrisons, administrative centers, and a constant, visible reminder that a new authority was in charge. They physically connected his kingdom, giving him command of land and sea. Second, he conquered. Harald extended his influence into Norway. While he didn't rule all of it directly, his claim was audacious. He involved himself in the politics of Normandy and spread Danish influence across the sea. He was building an empire. But his most famous act of unification was spiritual. Around 960 AD, Harald converted to Christianity. This was a strategic masterstroke. By adopting the religion of the powerful Holy Roman Empire, he eased political tensions and began integrating his kingdom into the broader European landscape, bridging the gap between the pagan Viking world and Christian Europe. To commemorate all this, Harald left behind one of the most incredible artifacts of the Viking Age, the larger Jelling stone. It's often called Denmark's birth certificate. Its runic inscription proudly declares, King Haraldr ordered this monument made in memory of Gorma, his father, and in memory of Thurve, his mother, that Haraldr who won for himself all of Denmark and Norway and made the Danes Christian. One side shows a great beast tangled with a serpent, another bears the oldest depiction of Christ found in Scandinavia. It's royal propaganda carved in stone. So why the nickname, Bluetooth? The Old Norse was Blathand. The most popular legend says he had a dead or decaying tooth that was a dark, blue-gray color, an unforgettable feature for a powerful king. Though some historians debate this, the story has become tech folklore. Harald's reign ended as it began, in conflict. His forceful conversion created enemies, including his own son, Sweyn Forkbeard. Sweyn led a rebellion, and Harald was defeated and died from his wounds around 986 AD. The great unifier was undone by his own blood. But his legacy, the story of a king who brought warring factions together, was cemented, waiting to be rediscovered. The world without wires, the chaos of the 1990s. Now, let's jump forward a millennium. The year is 1996, and the world is facing a different kind of chaos, one made of plastic and copper. This is the era of the personal computer, the first mobile phones, and the absolute tyranny of the cable. If you wanted to connect anything, you needed a wire. A keyboard had one plug, your mouse another, and your printer used a massive parallel port. Transferring a file meant floppy disks or a tangled mess of slow, short-distance serial cables. Then came the dream of mobile connectivity. But how could early mobile phones, laptops, and digital assistants talk to each other? The industry was a digital battlefield. One option was infrared, IRDA, but if you nudged the device or someone walked by, the connection was lost. It was frustrating and unreliable. Worse, every company was developing its own solution. At Ericsson in Sweden, engineers were working on a project to create wireless headsets. At Intel, a program called Business RF was being developed. Nokia had its own project, too. The industry was heading for a future where you'd need Sony headphones for a Sony phone and Nokia headphones for a Nokia phone. It would have been a consumer nightmare. Thankfully, leaders at Ericsson, Nokia, and Intel saw the disaster coming. They knew a wireless future had to be universal. There needed to be a single, open standard for everyone. Just like King Harald faced a fractured Denmark, the tech industry faced a fractured landscape of warring companies. They needed to unite. The development of the core, short-link, radio technology had been initiated at Ericsson as early as 1989. After years of work by engineers like Jaap Hartsen and Sven Mattisson, they had a workable solution. In 1998, a formal coalition, the Bluetooth Special Interest Group, or SIG, was officially launched with Ericsson, Intel, Nokia, Toshiba, and IBM as the founding members. They had the technology and the vision. But they didn't have a name. And that's when a conversation over drinks changed tech history. A fateful meeting, the birth of a codename, entered Jim Cardick, an Intel engineer. In 1997, as these companies were coming together, Cardick met with his counterpart from Ericsson, Sven Mattisson. As the story goes, after the formal meetings, the two went out for drinks. The conversation drifted from radio protocols to history. Mattisson, a history buff, started telling Cardick about the Vikings, mentioning a novel called The Long Ships. He told Cardick about a 10th century king famous for uniting the tribes of Scandinavia. A king with a weird nickname, Harald Bluetooth. A light bulb went on in Cardick's head. The parallel was perfect. Here they were, engineers from competing tribes, trying to create one standard to unite all their devices. They were doing with radio waves what Harald had done with armies. Back at Intel, Cardick was preparing a presentation for the new coalition. He needed a catchy codename. He created a PowerPoint slide. On one side, he put a picture of a guy with a mobile phone and a laptop. On the other, a stylized image of King Harald Bluetooth. And at the top, he wrote the codename, Bluetooth. Cardick later explained, Bluetooth was borrowed from the 10th century, second king of Denmark, King Harald Bluetooth, who was famous for uniting Scandinavia just as we intended to unite the PC and cellular industries with a short-range wireless link. It was never meant to be the final name. It was just a placeholder, an inside joke born from a conversation in a bar that perfectly captured their mission. Or so they thought. From codename to global brand, the name that stuck as the tech was finalized. It was time for the marketing department to give it a proper, market-tested name. Bluetooth was scheduled for retirement. Two serious contenders emerged. The first was radio wire. A solid choice. The second, and the front-runner, was PAN, for personal area networking. This was technically accurate, and it seemed certain we'd all soon be connecting our PAN-enabled devices. But fate, and corporate logistics, had other plans. When the lawyers did a trademark search, they found a huge problem. PAN was already a widely used industry term with tens of thousands of hits online. It would be impossible to trademark. PAN was out. So they fell back to radio wire. As the launch date neared, another problem appeared. The full trademark search couldn't be completed in time. They were out of time and out of options. At the final meeting, with the launch looming, they looked at the only name left that was cleared for use, the one on all their internal documents from the beginning. The placeholder. The code name. The nerdy joke. It was Bluetooth. By default, the temporary name became the permanent one. The Viking King was here to stay. But the homage didn't stop there. It extends to the very symbol on billions of devices. The logo isn't just a stylized B. It's a piece of Viking history, a bindrune. A bindrune merges two or more runes into a single symbol. The Bluetooth logo combines the younger Futhark runes for King Harald's initials, Hagel and Bjarken. Fuse them together, and you get the iconic symbol on your screen. It's a masterpiece of symbolic design. A bindrune, the binding of two letters, for a technology that binds two devices. The initials of the king who united warring tribes, now the symbol for a standard that unites competing industries. It's a story so perfect, you couldn't make it up. The king's digital legacy, the first consumer device to carry that name and symbol, was a hands-free mobile headset, which won a Best of Show Technology Award at COMDEX in 1999. While Ericsson had prototype phones, the first to truly hit the mass market was the Ericsson T39 in 2001. From there, the king's digital conquest began. Initial versions were humble, just replacing cables for headsets with speeds under 1 megabit per second. Bluetooth 2.0 introduced enhanced data rate, EDR, tripling the speed and making wireless stereo music a reality. The kingdom was expanding. Then came Bluetooth 4.0 in 2010, and with it, Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE. This was a game changer. BLE allowed small sensors to run for months or even years on a coin battery, opening the floodgates for the Internet of Things, IoT. Fitness trackers, smartwatches, and home sensors all entered the digital realm, speaking the same language. Today, Bluetooth can send data faster, farther, and to more devices at once than its creators dreamed. It powers everything from our earbuds and smart homes to industrial sensors and medical equipment. Each year, billions of new devices ship with King Harald's initials on them, a quiet testament to the power of a good story. From a 10th century king with a bad tooth who united a kingdom, to a 20th century standard that united an industry through a happy accident. It's a story about how chaos, whether warring tribes or warring tech companies, can be overcome by a vision of unity. So the next time you tap that little runic symbol on your screen and music magically plays in your headphones, take a second to remember the journey it represents. You're not just using technology, you're part of a legacy that stretches back over a millennium. You're invoking the spirit of a Viking king, a unifier whose name has outlasted his empire to find a new kind of immortality in all of our pockets. The king is dead. Long live the king. If you found this piece of hidden history as fascinating as I do, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories behind the tech that shapes our world. And let me know in the comments, what blew your mind more, the dead tooth, the accidental name, or that the logo is literally the king's initials. Thanks for watching.